It's day 22 of President Bola Tinubu administration, and we're keeping you up to date with events in his first 100 days in office. Thank you for joining us on the program. I am Nifemi Oguntoyi. You can join the conversation now on Twitter if you use the hashtag first 100 days. Remember to tag at TVC News NG. Now, less than 24 hours after President Tinubu sacked the service chiefs, the new acting Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has been decorated with his new rank by Vice President Kashim Shettima. The acting Inspector General of Police described this feeling as that of a tiger that is ready to take on criminality head-on.
You come, you work, and you go. I'm happy I'm handing over to somebody I know that will carry the mantle of leadership from where I have stopped. We grew up in the job, we grew up together. I was his boss at the time, not even when I was IG. He worked under me twice. We've been working together, and I know how he can go ahead to champion the cause of the police from where I have stopped.
After his decoration by the Vice President, acting IGP Kayode Egbetokun arrived loose-headed headquarters of the Nigeria Police in Abuja. The new police chief is expected to assume office on Wednesday after the formal handover at the force headquarters in Abuja. Well, let's speak to State House correspondent Femi Akonde, who joins me live from Abuja. After the program yesterday, we heard President Buhari announcing retirement of service chiefs and the IGP. What's the mood like in town, particularly within the presidency in the last 24 hours, Femi? Well, we'll get back to Femi in the course of the conversation as we follow up with some critical decisions coming from the presidential villa in just about 3 weeks and 1 day of President Bola Tinubu's administration. Well, let's turn very quickly to what is transpiring across board, particularly in reaction to the appointment of new service chief. President Bola Tinubu, during his campaigns and inauguration, promised to run an all-inclusive government and hit the ground running. It would appear that he's keeping to that promise. But let's quickly take a look at the appointment of service chiefs and Inspector General of Police, as well as other appointments that we've seen in the past 24 hours. National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu from the Northeast, the Chief of Defense Staff, Major General Chris Musa from the Northwest, and the Acting Inspector General of Police, who's just been decorated, DIG Kayode Egbetokun, is from the Southwest. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Taurid Lagbaja, is from the Southwest. Chief of Naval Staff, Rear Admiral Ikechukwu Ogala, is from the Southeast. And Chief of the Air Staff, Air Vice Marshal Hassan Bala Abubakar, from the Northwest region of the country, as well as Chief of Defense Intelligence, Major General Epa Udiandeye, from the South. DSS Director Dennis Amakri and Security and Risk Management Professional Oyekachi Adekoya for more on this latest development. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on the program. The previous 4 presidents since 1999 have made similar changes to the leadership of defense forces when they assumed office. I'd like us to begin with what the track record is of the impact that a change in leadership has had on security operation in Nigeria. I'm starting with you, Mr. Makri.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's go back to the last 8 years, where we had service chiefs. The first set was not very well efficient because we were having the problem with Boko Haram, we were having problems with corruption, and we were having problems with all kinds of stuff until we got the last set. You know, the last set has been one of the best so far in recent times, where they have, they came in And of course, the president has been able to give them whatever they wanted because all the equipment, all the benefits that they're supposed to have. So the Navy, Air Force, Army were all in high spirit. And that's how we should be. Although, you know, these the change is so sudden, and of course they should know that there will be a change, and any leader that comes in will normally want to have people that are loyal to him that he appointed. So I think it's a normal one, but we have to give them kudos as they leave, and then for the new ones, we hope that they will take off from what the others have done so far.
Absolutely. Mr. Adekoya, new leadership is expected to inspire change and also inject some new energy into the force. Has that been the case? Has that been the case in the past over 20 years since 1999?
Thank you very much, Nifemi, and good evening to the viewers. I think that we like to over-sensationalize sometimes the issues of security in Nigeria, maybe for good reasons, because it affects all of us. But if you ask that question, then it doesn't do good justice to the set of constraints that have not changed and that hopefully will begin to change in the near term. The constraints of inadequacy of equipment, of personnel, of the structural imbalance in how we approach issues of national security, of the way we play our politics, of the challenges in the Sahel region from Ethiopia to Eritrea. There are challenges that goes beyond person you have sitting in office as a service chief. Of course, leadership points the direction, and leadership should shape the focus of any organization. So you can change service chiefs all you want, but what we've seen is that since 1999, the problems in Nigeria has grown increasingly worse. And yes, whilst General Lucky Rabo has tried to steady the ship, and I like to put it out there that I will recommend him for Minister of Defense. He's done a fantastic job, taking a very nuanced approach to the issues of leadership. That's somebody who has experience in the theater, very cerebral, comes highly recommended. So I just want to say that the change of service chiefs alone is not the silver bullet that we need to adjust our approach to security. It's an important step, but if you leave them to themselves, it's like you take a pilot and you give him a downfall bus to drive. That's a bit of a mismatch. So you cannot test or weigh the true professionalism of the successive occupants of some of these offices if you just look them on the merit of their personality alone. Their constraints are beyond them.
Interesting contribution indeed. Mr. Makri, there are concerns about how a high turnout or turnover of service chiefs mean the retirement of quite a number of experienced hands. Is that a sentiment that you share, or you think they can be put to better use outside the force?
I think it has been a problem in the military or even in the security services where you appoint junior ranking officers, and that means that you are going to retire all the people ahead of them, because the seniority thing is very, very important in the services, and that's why, the president came out flying a kite about special assistant security. And then, of course, everybody was, you saw the discussions that were going on. People were saying, oh, no, Ribadu cannot, because that position, even if it is left as it is, will be a national security advisor's role that it will be playing. And you can't say that no Ribadu is junior enough. He cannot control the people. He cannot coordinate them. He does not have the requisite experience. But all that, I think, is what the president has used in making his final decision. And that was a masterstroke. First of all, he has gone ahead to uplift him to National Security Advisor and then retired everybody, because everybody ahead of him will be retired. And now for this new set of service chiefs, I think Nuhu Ribadu is their senior, if you come to look at it cross opposites, although they don't all go to Defense Academy. But seniority, I think, is recognized. And then, of course, if you pick up the job, if you agree to do it, it doesn't matter. If you don't want to obey orders, then you have to leave, because it's not your father's house. So, you know, this is the new picture that we are getting. And I think it's okay. He has got a lot of experience, international experience, and he should be able to just...
And it seems you think he is fit for the job. Gentlemen, hold on. Let me quickly bring in our State House correspondent from Abuja. Femi Akonde has been monitoring this closely within the presidential villa. We've seen a huge number of appointments in the past 24 hours, Femi, more than the numbers we've been counting since day one. Talk to us about the mood in town and, of course, within the presidency after yesterday's appointment.
Well, Ifemi, within the presidency, nobody has come out to make any categorical statement about these appointments, because this is the decision of the president and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The buck stops on his table, and he has taken his decision. So we don't expect to see people talking about it. We expect everyone to fall in line. We expect that change of guards to happen in the military, in the police, and in other agencies or paramilitary organizations where the president has appointed new people at the helms of affairs. So we expect to see that shake-up take place in real time now in all of these agencies. I know what people are saying is that, especially with the change of guards in service chiefs, it has re-energized the fight against insecurity. It has re-energized the security agenda of the president, President Bola Tinubu. You know that he says that security will be a top priority of his administration. And, you know, with the coming of these new service chiefs, we expect them to begin to execute the security philosophy and agenda of President Bola Tinubu moving forward. And what we are also hearing are comments by fifth columnists, people trying to look at the geographical spread, representation of these appointments made. People are making different kind of comments and all of that. But in government circles within the presidency, everyone has been quiet. It is the decision of the president, and everyone respects that. Nifemi.
Well, all eyes on the new service chiefs and the contribution they will make and bring to national security, particularly in respect to the president's promises during campaign. The president is now out of town. He's left the country for his very first official trip since May 29. What's the expectation ahead of this France trip, Femi?
Yes, indeed, Nifemi, the president is attending this global financing pact in France alongside about 300 world leaders, political leaders, heads of government, members of the civil society. What they will be discussing is an improved and innovative financing solution to ensure that wealthier countries take more responsibilities, especially for the poor and vulnerable countries, to ensure that there's a better financing arrangement for education and also for climate action. And we expect President Bola Tinubu to also reiterate and pledge Nigeria's commitment to meeting its energy needs and also ensuring a clean usage of clean energy in the country. So we expect Nigeria to be making a strong case. This will be the first international engagement of President Bola Tinubu. We already know what his foreign policy ideology and philosophy philosophy has been, we know what he thinks about climate change, what he thinks about also global financing, because he feels that the wealthier countries should do more for the smaller and poorer countries who do not have access to some of these finances. He believes that all obstacles in the way of the smaller countries to getting finance, developmental finance, is removed. And he also believes that some of these countries who are heavily indebted should be granted maybe pardon. Some of these debts should be waived aside to enable them be able to do more, channel more resources to cater for their people and help fight poverty in the country. So we are all eyes on President Bola Tinubu, who are looking at the presentation he'll be making on behalf of Nigeria. And we also know that he has gone with some members of his team, even though they are not they have not been named. We do not know which members of his team are with him on that trip. But we know that, yes, he has gone with a team that the presidency says is a competent team that would help make a good case for Nigeria. Nifemi.
State House correspondent Femi Akonde live for us in Abuja. We're back now to discussing national security as Nigeria gets new service chiefs. DSS Director, former DSS Director Dennis Amakri joins us live from New York. Security and risk management professional, fellow Nigerian Institute of Industrial Security, Oyekachi Adekoya. Gentlemen, thank you for staying the course. Mr. Adekoya, so much talk about regional spread, particularly at a time that the country seems to be sharply divided across ethnic and religious lines. How well did these appointments fare in this regard?
Ifemi, I've watched everybody on different sides of the aisle commend the president for the appointment. I, for one, cannot fault the appointment. Every geographical zone fully represented. I understand the concerns for the North Central, but again, if you look at it critically, as I'd mentioned earlier, Kaduna South, it's almost like any part of Abuja or Niger or Nasarawa, they share history. And importantly, the Secretary of the Federal Government is from the North Central. Because of the constraints and the sensitivity surrounding the protection of the office of the president and the regime, there's not too much leeway for some of those negotiations. But we must commend the president. He's done very well. Every zone represented, perhaps the corners North Central has to take one on the chin for the protection of the office, the country at large. And let's see what other concessions will be given to the North Central. But let's just also know that the Secretary of the Federal Government is there. ONSA is from the Northeast. CDI is from the South-South. Sorry, Chief of Defense Intelligence. The Southeast has the Naval. And again, we must also, the point that my Oga Dennis mentioned earlier, this fair balancing is very good. Because if you look at the noise that trailed the press conference given by Sari on issues of oil theft, the Navy is key to the survival of Nigeria. And to see that the president will entrust the Navy to the Southeast shows you that, I mean, he doesn't have anything against any part of the country. Probably he's just looking for who will get the job done. So the Navy is very key to our survival, and that's a very proper position to have given.
Indeed.
But for regime protection, for his personal security, no doubt, IGP and the Chief of Army Staff, which is the most significant of amongst of all the chiefs, even sometimes we say operationally, has more weight than the Chief of Defense Staff. So you can't blame the man for taking some steps to protect himself, his office, and his administration. So very fair and balanced appointments, if you ask me.
Mr. Makri, you agree with me that in the coming days, what would matter would be the performance of these individuals and not where they come from. So we're turning attention now to what they must do differently at a time where every part of the country has a peculiar security challenge. There is banditry in the northwest, pockets of insurgency in the northeast, headers farmers crisis in the north central. Each zone has a peculiar security challenge. Add widespread kidnapping for ransom across the country. We've had service chiefs in the past, who have struggled and who have tried in all sense and all sincerity to deal with these challenges. What must these individuals do differently?
Thank you for that question, because I think, when people are appointed to offices, what Nigerians do is to bring a clean sheet of paper, write the name of the appointee, and then, of course, where he came from. And then you have issues like, oh, North Central has been left out in this, I remember when the Senate president of the Senate was being, when they were competing for that. And we keep on, bringing these ethnic issues there, forgetting that it is competence that matters a lot. It's just like saying that for all future appointments in Nigeria, we're going to look for people like my colleague Oyekachi Adekoya, who you cannot tell where he comes from, because his first name is Igbo and then his last name is Yoruba. So
He's a total
it becomes
Nigerian.
a problem. Yes. Maybe we should be appointing people like that. Or the future Nigerians.
To confuse Nigerians.
Yes, the real Nigerians, where you cannot tell where they come from. So this is where we always tie ourselves down to this. But I think competence is the issue. And then, of course, with these new people, they know what is required of them. They know what has been going on. Some of them have actually been part of the operations that have been taking place in the country. So they know exactly. And then, of course, this is a civilian president. And if you are not doing very well, he can always tell you to go home and then get new people to sit in and do better things. So results is what we are looking for now.
Mr. Oyekachi, we're wrapping up now, but very quickly, I'm just wondering what you think they must do differently. There is separatist violence still relevant in the Southeast. The Monday sit-at-home is still an issue, and billions of naira are being lost, on a monthly basis. Oil theft is still a thing in the South. You heard Asari Dokubo right there at the State House, saying that 99% of that criminal act, can be traced to the Nigerian military, and he did not mince words when he made that pronouncement. What do you think these service chiefs have to do differently from their predecessors?
Okay, thank you. Very good question. And thanks for adding the Asari comments into the mix. Asari is a stakeholder in the Niger Delta, and some of those comments he made are comments that should be taken very seriously. And I'm sure that the presidency is looking at it. For me, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that the president, commander-in-chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, is the chief security officer of the country. I don't care. Not that I don't care, but service chiefs are appointees of the president. The IGP is an appointee of the president. The buck stops at his table. So sink or swim, it's the president. And I think that what must happen differently, and I see it from this president, is to take a very business approach to the issue of security. There's been several reforms that have been proposed to have like accountability within the security sector, clear KPIs from them. Bad behavior should not be rewarded. If there are failures, of course, chop and change them very quickly, because ultimately, the president said nobody should feel sorry for him. He campaigned for the role. He's gotten it. And I do feel very sorry for him, because protecting 774 local governments, 220 million Nigerians is no mean feat. So the politics of the country is what contributes over 70% to the issue of insecurity. So if you can bring every warring party, every source of conflict to a table and provide leadership, and then unclog some of the pain points of the different ethnic groups, we can find a way forward. The service chiefs cannot do as much as the president will do, and the president has to take the driver's seat there. And then the service chiefs will just implement his agenda and his program. That's the way it should be, and that's what must change differently.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, I must say a big thank you. Thank you for joining the program. Dennis Amakri is former DSS director, and also we're joined by security and risk management professional, Oyekachi Adekoya. Thank you so much for talking to us. Well,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ashiwaju's time has started counting. It probably has just about 3 years and 343 days left, and Nigerians are going to hold him accountable for all the promises he made, particularly in the area of national security. And we're here counting down with him and also bringing you all of the details of his activities, especially in his first 100 days in office. I'm Nifemi Oguntoye. See you again tomorrow.